Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Dan Knows Everything About Sports. And today, it's our LeBron James special. LeBron James! That's who we're talking about today. Seems to be a lot of speculation going around NBA free agency, about LeBron, about where is he going to end up at 41 years old. Well, hell, I'm not saying I know everything, but I know enough to make my point today, and that's what we're going to do. So let's just dive right into it. For those of you who don't know, let's give you a quick recap. LeBron James, a little while ago, a few days back even, informed the Los Angeles Lakers of his intent to part ways with the Lakers. And the Lakers, honestly, if you've been paying attention to them over the past couple years and what they've had to do to really make concessions to keep LeBron happy, were more than happy to be like, yeah, we're cool with that. You know what? We've had our fun. Thanks for the one ring in the bubble. Thank you for the merch sales. They're making us interesting over the last 8 years. But I don't know if you know this. We went out, we got Luka Doncic. He's younger. He's still a star. We're going to build around him. They were more than happy to do it. And on the way out, now people can speculate whatever they want on this. On the way out, they even guaranteed Bronny Jr.'s contract, so he will be a Laker next season. LeBron will not be playing with his son. Wherever he ends up, he will be playing arguably probably 1, maybe 2 years at the most, depending on how he feels. But many have speculated, if you're reading into what he's planning on doing, this is probably this is the swan song. This is the twilight of his career. He's 41 years old. He wants to play another year. That's at least guaranteed. Going beyond that, who knows? But he is looking for his final destination, his retirement home. I believe he truly thought it was going to be Los Angeles. I think when he was shopping around 8 years ago and he looked at a couple of other teams, because you knew he wasn't going back to Cleveland after all of that. You knew he was probably back in 2018. He knew one thing, and that was it's not going to be Cleveland. The teams that were looking to talk to him back then, I believe, Miami. He was looking at Los Angeles. He was looking at even Philadelphia, threw their hat in the ring, and he entertained them. But everyone pinpointed that he was going to LA, and it was probably where he wanted to end his career. And things have not gone the way that the Lakers thought. I believe the Lakers, in their mind, thought this last contract they gave him, perhaps he was going to retire as a Laker, but that did not happen. So now, let's just go right into the teams that have made themselves readily available to LeBron. And if we're going by the LeBron watch in Vegas, just to give you all the betting odds, as of this recording, these are the odds according to Vegas for where LeBron James may end up. These are the top 10 teams according to them. Number 1 is Golden State. Number 2 is Cleveland. Number 3 is Philadelphia, followed by Miami, Denver, and then outside chances of the Spurs, Wizards, Mavericks, Pistons, Knicks, and Timberwolves, who have all shown interest. And we're not going to cover every one of those teams today because, let's be honest, most of those teams, they're throwing their hat in the ring, but do they need LeBron? No. Would he want to go there in certain cases? I don't know, like the Wizards? Hell no. I don't believe he would even entertain that notion of going to that team. Pistons, no. Knicks, they don't need him. Had they not won the title, though, I do believe they would have been the absolute odds-on favorite, and there wouldn't have been discussion of any other team, because in Rich Paul's mind, if you've listened to his podcast, and you've heard about the whiteboard, and you've heard about his take on everything, New York probably would have been the odds-on favorite for him to go there. But I don't know if New York at this point would have wanted him, given how they have competed over the last couple of years and the fact that they are the reigning NBA champions for the first time in 53 years. So I think the Knicks are out. Today we're just going to focus on this brief podcast special. We're just going to focus on the main teams that I believe he is going to go to. Although, before we go into that, of those teams I just mentioned, I know they were very quickly said, is there a snowball's chance in hell of anyone other than Cleveland he goes to? Let me know in the comments section. But just going into the odds-on betting favorite, everyone believes he's going to Golden State. And let's just break down the facts right now. LeBron James is being opened and a roster spot. Golden State, as of this recording that we know, Draymond Green has declined his player option. He is going to take less money. He is making space, monetary-wise, for LeBron James to come there. They are keeping a roster spot open if he is intrigued enough to come and play with them. If he were to sign with them, your starting five for Golden State would be Steph Curry, Shake Milton, or Jimmy Butler when Butler is healthy. He is still injured right now. LeBron James, Draymond Green, and Kristaps Porzingis. If he signs with Golden State, the average age of that team will now be 30 years old, and they will have the oldest starting five in the league. Depending on who's on the floor at any given point, the Golden State Warriors, if LeBron signs there, will be fielding a starting five with the average age of 36 to 39 years old. Is this the 2000 Rockets all over again? The 99 2000 Rockets? Let me know in the comments section. Is this the 99 2000 Rockets all over again? Are you old enough to even remember the 99 2000 Rockets? For those of you who don't know, the 1999 Houston Rockets, they fielded a squad that had, at the end of their careers, Clyde Drexler, Charles Barkley, Akeem Olajuwon, and a very much no longer wanting to be in Chicago, Scottie Pippen. They had the oldest starters in the league back then, and it didn't work for them. They did make the playoffs, but it did not work for them. On top of that, too, prior to, even if LeBron wants to sign with Golden State, understand this, Golden State just signed Al Horford. Al Horford is 40 years old. Now, I understand why he would want to go and play in Golden State. I get that. Is he going to make a little bit more money than the veteran minimum? Probably. With Draymond making that sacrifice? Yes. Does he get to stay closer to home, relative to every other city that's on there? Yes. He has a house in Southern California. He's only in Northern California. It's a short plane ride away compared to everywhere else. His family can stay relatively close. I believe that's why a lot of people think he's going to end up there, because Rich Paul, his agent and his best friend, has come out and said he is valuing happiness over anything else, because he clearly wants to end his career on his terms, and good for him. Now, does Golden State make sense? It makes sense from the position that before he retires, LeBron wants to play with Steph Curry. Yes, and he's always controlled the narrative in his career. And fun fact, LeBron is not even participating in any of these talks, just so everyone is aware of this. It has already been announced by Rich Paul. Rich Paul is the only person you are talking to in any of these pitch meetings. So Golden State's pitch is going to be directly to Mr. Adele. That is it. I'm not going to be to anybody else. Only going to talk to him. And he and LeBron are going to sit down and discuss each pitch meeting when Rich Paul is done talking to all of these teams and make a business decision from there. Does it make sense? Yeah, that if he goes to Golden State, absolutely. Are they going to be a box office attraction? Of course. I mean, anywhere Steph Curry goes, it's a box office attraction. Anywhere LeBron ends up is a box office attraction. The fact that you were going to have the two biggest stars of the last, 15 years on the same squad in the twilight of their careers, possibly both doing a retirement run together. That's fantastic. This is basically, if they both play together, this is the equivalent of Kobe and Jordan both deciding, let's go play for Charlotte together, or, Jordan joining the Lakers for one last season and he and Kobe retiring together. That's the equivalent of this. Or in more modern sense, anybody who's of this age and can remember this. I mean, if LeBron and Steph team up together, forgive me, it's essentially the equivalent of Karl Malone and Gary Payton going to the Lakers with Shaq and Kobe back in 2005. That's essentially what this has become, or 2004, forgive me. That's essentially what this would be. But the only reason why I don't like this, my take on this, why, when I know everything, right? This is what I know as a useless sports guru. Steph Curry's 38 years old. When Jimmy Butler is healthy, when he is healthy, 36 years old. Draymond Green, 36 years old. LeBron James, 41 years old. Kristaps Porzingis is the only one in their starting lineup under the age of 35. He is 30 years old. That is what they're putting out on the court. So yes, it would probably be an attraction having all of these guys play. Hell, if this was 10 years ago or even 5 years ago, that is a squad that they go 75 and probably, 75 and 7 or 72 and 10. that would be their record 5 years ago, in my opinion. That's how good that squad would have been, again, 5 years ago. Not today, though. That is very much, all of those bodies have had a lot of miles put on them. Draymond Green is not Draymond Green anymore. He is a serviceable average player at this point in his career. Kristaps Porzingis can't stay healthy. LeBron, the funny thing is, out of all of those players that I mentioned, LeBron James, the 41-year-old, is the only one who actually is healthy enough to play a full season. And that is scary. But that also speaks volumes to how much he has taken care of himself over the past 22 seasons in the NBA. Now, they are the odds-on favorite. That's what that squad would look like. We're going to move on to number 2 here. Cleveland, where 60% of America thinks he's going to end up going anyway, which, would that make a good narrative? Absolutely. I mean, Akron boy, played for the hometown squad, left, became the villain, came back, left a hero, gave them their first sports championship since the 60s, pulled off an incredible comeback with Kyrie Irving, and that Cleveland squad coming back from 3-1 down, which, by the way, one of the only reasons why that team comes back from 3-1 down is because Draymond Green can't keep his hands, or in this case, his feet to himself, and decides to low blow LeBron James. Because without that low blow, LeBron doesn't probably have that comeback and have that story. To this day, I do believe the good people of Cleveland, if and when they put a statue of LeBron James up in their city, right next to it needs to be a smaller thank you plaque to Draymond Green for low blowing LeBron James, because without that key moment in that series, I don't think LeBron wins that title there. But if he goes back there, what a great story. I think it would, and I also believe, like a lot of you, I think that's where he's going to end up. Like Rich Paul said, he wants to be happy. I think he's valuing that over competitiveness. And if he is, Cleveland's the best fit for him out of all of them. It is. But that starting lineup would be Spider, James, Mobley, Allen. And then this is the toss-up right now, because he is technically a free agent as of this signing. And on top of bringing in LeBron, you would have to pay him as well and bring it in. This is where I think the snag comes in with Cleveland is, and this is a big question if you're Cleveland, and I need to know this in the comments section. Here's another question for you guys today. If you're Cleveland and you want LeBron to retire as a Cav, is James Harden that important to you? James Harden, if you sign LeBron James, is he that important to you to bring him back? Knowing what you gave up Garland to go out and get him. But is he that important to you? Because we all know this about James Harden, and we've known this about him his entire career. He's great in the regular season. He can get you points. But in the playoffs, he disappears, especially the last couple years. And he's a defensive liability. So if LeBron's just looking for happiness and he goes back there, that's great. But as the Cavs, and you have Spider in the prime of his career at only 29 years old, really about to start hitting his, really probably peaking in his career over the next couple of years. If you know anything about athletics, there's always that time frame between the age of 27 and 33 where you peak at some point. And Mitchell is a great player. And is LeBron going to be that guy who comes in, helps him, gets him to MVP category? Maybe. And maybe that's why you want him back for a multitude of reasons. But are you more committed to that story and the LeBron retirement tour next year? Or are you trying to win a championship? And to me, one way or the other, whether you bring back James Harden or you don't, I don't think he's an overall effect on that team, but that's what that starting 5 tentatively would look like if they brought him back. Harden, Mitchell, James, Mobley, and Allen. It's a very formidable starting 5. Does it vastly improve their chances to win a championship with LeBron? Only slightly, in my opinion, because again, he is still 41 years old and your body tends to break down, although he and Tom Brady have bucked those trends in the last 20 years of aging and still being serviceable or great at times versus aging and just breaking down and going, my God, please hang it up. We have yet to see that with LeBron. We haven't seen that so-called quote-unquote cliff. He hasn't hit it yet. But that's what Cleveland would look like. Moving on to the interesting third favorite here. And we discussed this in a previous episode, and I'm just going to go through it very quickly and not dwell on it too much. Because in my opinion, it's probably the hipster pick for where he ends up. And they have the third best odds according to Vegas. But will he end up going there? And that is the Philadelphia 76ers, who, again, 8 years ago, they swung. They took their chance and they swung at LeBron and they missed. And that team 8 years ago potentially was going to have a Ben Simmons who hadn't choked in the playoffs yet to the point where he got booed out of Philadelphia. He was a budding all-star. About to be in his prime Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris. Like, they had a squad and they were willing to go to him once before and say, hey, listen, Simmons, Harris, Embiid, that's all we need. And LeBron went, hey, thank you. Appreciate the trip out here. But I'm going to LA. And that's what happened before. They got spurned at the altar trying to go after him before. But according to ESPN, according to everybody out there in the news space and sports, he is entertaining Philadelphia. And we've already gotten back some news, according to Brian Windhorst. Most teams do think he's going to end up in Cleveland, that's where he wants to go. But like I just spoke about the issues with that, if they're trying to win a championship, I don't know if he goes there. If it's just, hey, I just want to come home and retire here. But looking at the Sixers, if they were to acquire him, all hypotheticals here today, folks, you have a starting lineup that goes like this: Maxey, Edgecombe, Brown, Embiid, if healthy, and LeBron James possibly playing power forward, along with a bench depth, because that's the one thing I haven't really spoken too much about with the other previous teams. I'm going to speak a little bit to it here with the Sixers. The Sixers just went out and got Anthony Simons. They went out and got Caleb Love. They went out and they got Dean Wade. And Dean Wade is a very serviceable defensive power forward. I love that signing for Philly. But you essentially have your starting five on game one being Maxey, Edgecombe, Brown, James, and Embiid. If all of them are healthy, this is the youngest squad out of the four who are suiting for Mr. James. The youngest squad. This is the youngest starting five he would be playing with out of the top four teams. Because Maxey, 25, he is right in the middle, about to hit that peak prime moment in the next couple of years. He can, in my opinion, he's only going to get a little bit better. You have VJ Edgecombe, who, if he continues to play the way he played last season, he is going to be a budding star in this league for years to come. You now have Jaylen Brown, who is just, and I mean this in every sense of the word, a defensive dog. He loves to get dirty on defense. And you would have LeBron James playing that power forward position, but the one question mark that I think, has to be going through his head, has to be going through everyone's head, and it's the one question is this: the Sixers are built right now to win a championship within the next 3 years, because in the next 3 years, that is Jaylen Brown's contract. And he is going to be 30 at the beginning of next season. But he makes them significantly better on that squad with Edgecombe and Maxey. You add in LeBron, it will slightly improve their chances, but they definitely have a chance to go deeper in the playoffs than they have in the last 25 years. If LeBron's looking to win a championship, of the teams that are going to be listed today in this podcast, that is the only realistic one that I can see, that if he's trying to get another ring on his finger as a player, if he's trying to get that fifth ring, that's where I would go if I were him. It would be Philadelphia. But the biggest question out of all of it's going to be Embiid. And Embiid is a former MVP in this league, a multiple-time All-Star, and we have seen him do just some great things in this league, and he is heading towards a Hall of Fame career, whether some people want to believe that or not. The biggest truth and the biggest fact of this entire process is this: Joel Embiid, at 32 years old, he's only played in 96 games in the last 3 seasons. He has not hit the 40-game playing mark in 4 calendar years. That is concerning. And a lot of it, yes, has had to do with the fact that in those last 3 seasons, Maxey was young. He wasn't what he is right now. He had no defensive help to really speak of on that team. He pretty much was in the same position Iverson was in there for a little bit. But the only difference is the Sixers, unlike Allen Iverson, were willing to go out and get stars to pair with him. And unfortunately, it did not work out in the long run because, like we discussed the other day, Daryl Morey kept swinging for the fences, and it ended up as pop flies every time because they barely got out of the play-in one. They didn't even make the playoffs one year. They barely got out of the play-in a couple of the years. This past season, they go on a crazy run and show you that when healthy, they can compete, only to disappear once they ran through the Knicks. Now, does this squad, this Sixers squad, make them better than the Knicks? I don't know, and I'd be hard-pressed to say no, considering the fact that the Knicks just won our fresh off an NBA title where they just could not be kept down by the San Antonio Spurs. I mean, those last couple games, that game 4 and game 5, the way that they played, they were a team of destiny. So could they beat them next year with this squad? Yes. But the biggest question, if I'm LeBron, Joel Embiid. But moving on to the final team here, the Heat. This is the intriguing one here because I feel like if he were to sign here, the NBA offseason would come full circle. Because like I spoke in a previous one, to just give you a quick recap, Pat Riley and the Miami Heat started a snowball effect with the Giannis trade that absolutely changed the entire landscape of the NBA in just a few short weeks. And like I said before, Pat Riley is sitting somewhere near South Beach, gazing off into the distance, looking at the Giannis Antetokounmpo trade, knowing full well that that trade led to Boston being a snake eating its tail and trading their second best player to their biggest divisional rival outside of the Knicks and probably their longest tenured rival outside of the Lakers in the 76ers and the battles that they have had historically. They traded that guy to that team because Pat Riley was willing to pull the trigger a hell of a lot more than Brad Stevens was. And if he were to get LeBron, he's lighting up another Cuban because their starting 5 would be Davion Mitchell, Tim Hardaway Jr., LeBron James, Giannis, and Bam. Not a bad starting 5, but definitely a win now mode. But you have to wonder though, is the somewhat tentative relationship between Pat Riley and LeBron James, is that dead in the water? Have they moved past their issues? Because there were things that LeBron has said in the past, he did not handle well. He didn't handle the way he thought he should have in the long run with Miami when he left the last time, because he announced in a Sports Illustrated article that he was leaving and going back to Cleveland. He didn't publicly, embarrass the Heat like he did the Cavs when he left the first time, but he certainly didn't talk to them in the manner that he should have in a professional sense. But for him to go back and play with Giannis, with Bam, Tim Hardaway, okay, Davion Mitchell, it takes a lot of the defensive, in my opinion, it takes a lot of the defensive responsibilities off of LeBron if he were to go there. But to me, that one just seems weird. Out of all of them, and I see why they are the outside fourth choice, if he were to go there and play his final season or two in Miami, the Heat definitely, they're in win now mode. Is LeBron at this point in his career, and I ask you this, if LeBron goes back to Miami, he takes his talents back to Miami, is that the worst choice for him? Or are we going to see LeBron get that mentality back? Because LeBron had a certain mentality. Villain LeBron, I think, more so than anything, and this is really the question I'm asking, was villain LeBron the best version of LeBron we ever got? Because look at those years, 2010 to 2013, those 4 seasons that he played in Miami. 2010, 2011, 12, 13, 14. Go look at those years. Those are some of the best numbers of his career. Villain LeBron enjoyed playing like the villain, and my God, did he just play his ass off in Miami. Do you get that version of him, though, at 41? That is my question. Now, listen, all 4 of these teams, by the way, outside of Golden State, just looking at this monetary-wise, I've given you the facts of what those lineups are going to look like. All 4 of those teams are cap pressed. They're all over the cap for the most part. So wherever he goes, if he was to just take, a straight 1-year contract, league rule dictate he's going to have to take a veteran minimum to go play there, money-wise. More than likely, I think one of these teams will probably, if they do decide to sign him, here's the bigger question: which team is willing to put up the headache of a sign-and trade? Because here's the other issue. LeBron, if he were to outright sign with someone for the veteran minimum, the Lakers don't have to be involved. They don't. This is the bigger thing that might throw a big monkey wrench into LeBron's Twilight song. outside of Golden State, which, by the way, I know everyone thinks he's going to Cleveland. I feel like he ends up in Golden State. Personally, my final thoughts on that is I think he ends up in Golden State. I think Philadelphia and Miami are nice thoughts. But at the end of the day, Golden State and Cleveland are the clear favorites for a reason. I think Golden State he just goes to because he then no longer has to involve the Lakers in what he is doing because they can probably move the money around and just flat out sign him. But if he goes to Cleveland, Cleveland may have to perform a sign-and trade, and you have to wonder, it's going to be a sign-and trade. What is Cleveland going to have to give up? And if they're willing to give anything up to get him back for one season. And that's going to be my final question of the day. I'm going to ask you guys to put that down in the comment section. If you're Cleveland and you have to perform a sign-and trade to bring LeBron to Cleveland, do you feel compelled to do it? Is LeBron that important to you over a championship to bring him there for you to perform a sign-and trade and possibly have to give up a pick or another key component to go deeper into the playoffs and perhaps make it to the NBA Finals? Would you give something up to get him? But anyway, that's my take for the moment. That's the update on LeBron. Like, share, and subscribe. And as always, hey, I'm Dan. I don't know everything, but I know enough to make you think. Have a good one, guys.